Thanks so much for being here. We're so excited to have this opportunity to talk specifically to school leaders. And our goal with this webinar series is to support you as you plan getting students back into the building, getting all your staff back in. We hope that you leave inspired and energized to start a new school year. And we're going to kick off the series today with tips for building a positive community with staff. So I'm going to turn it over to Tina Miller.
Right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm just honored to be here with you. For me, I've been an elementary principal, 8 years as an elementary principal in central Wisconsin. And I just thought, what a great opportunity to kick off this series, to think about in a short amount of time. It was important to me to do this in 30 minutes because all of our time is so precious, but to honor you, but also to say that we all bring so many good things to the table. And we're excited to share a little bit more about building that positive community. So first off, I just wanted to highlight, if you like today, join us for more. We know you signed up for the series, and I'm really hoping that I do a good job. So you'll come back for more, and you'll notice that the other topics next week is parent outreach, thinking about how we can bring those people into our community. And you'll see me back again August 21st, talking about common areas and how we can have that cafeteria that is smooth and calm. Won't that be great? And other routine areas. So you can see where the other topics are. But today, our big focus is positive community. So positive community starts with the leader. It starts with you. And I know you're like, no pressure, no pressure, but be the light. And that's where I think our positivity, our excitement to start the year just is so important in building that fabric of how the school year is going to go. So our intentions and our interactions models the community we want to be built with students. So what we expect our teachers to do with students and create that great classroom community, same for us with the staff. And when I say staff, I mean everyone from the lunch teachers to the crossing guards. It is all about us creating this optimal and learning environment for children. So thinking of that, now I have a new task for you to put in the chat. I want you to reflect and finish this sentence in the chat. How do we want our classrooms to feel for children? So you could finish finish this sentence. Students in our school should feel blank. Please put some of those words in the chat. And Kristen, I'm going to put you on. Can you summarize for some of those for us? What are you noticing, Kristen, in that chat?
Oh, absolutely. Things like students feeling safe, excited, joyful, loved and cared for, valued, welcomed, and wanting students to feel important and excited. I think we all want everyone to be excited to come back to school.
Oh, thank you. So now when we think of those feelings, we know children need this to be optimal learners. Adults in our building deserve to have those same feelings: joyful, safety, excited. So how do we set that stage to start new? And one of the pieces is thinking about, maybe you're an administrator or a school leader new to that site. That's different than, I'm returning, it's been 8 years with Tina Miller, and this is how we do things. Because there's pros and cons to both. If you're brand new to a site, you have this awesome opportunity. Build new bridges and think about what you've learned about the past leader and how you're going to do things differently. If you're a returning principal or administrator or leader, you know where the barriers are. You know some of those influencers, you know some of those needs, and you have this awesome opportunity to start again. But there's lenses of our experience and familiarity with staff. So what I'm going to share with you today are just some tips for things that you can incorporate. And I recognize many of you already probably do some of these things. And I'm thankful for that, because these were pieces that I felt like helped our school, when I was that elementary principal, really be successful as well. So thinking about that lens and that mindset of safety and joy. One of our responsive classroom guiding principles, guiding principle number 4, and it's on the screen. I'm not going to read it for you. I just want you to take a moment and read this. These are the underpinnings of everything we come to you with responsive classroom. Take a moment and review that. Same words: safety, joy, feeling included, feeling excited, just like what we want our children to feel as well. As we do this, and as we started brand new year, we want to make sure that we have safety as well. That I would actually, with safety, really think about emotionally safe, to handle disagreements, to be my authentic self, and physically safe to say, here's what I need at this time. It's okay to say I need a tap in, tap out during those stressful situations as well. I want staff at the beginning of the year, when they feel this way and how we work together, to feel valued for what they bring to the conversation, what they bring to the table. You are important. And I want them to feel heard when they have concerns, that it's not, ooh, I can't share this. Or maybe they're just sharing it with their little circle. How do we open up those conversations to fix things that need to be fixed? And that creates a more open and joyful environment for all of us. So now let's take a moment and think about all of the responsive classroom guiding principles. These all work together, and what it does is it creates an optimal learning environment, not only for children, but also for staff too. So let's just take a look at principle number 1. When I think of teaching social and emotional skills is as important as the content, we are all on a journey of our social emotional skills. Even all of us as adults, no one's perfect. So we can grow and learn skills and strategies for our mindfulness, for us to calm in moments of stress as well. No one's perfect, and we have to model growth for our children, for other adults. We all make mistakes. And one thing that I would often say is, I want to make it right. That's okay. And that's great to model that we need to be mindful and that we make mistakes as well. Take a look at principle number 2. How we teach is as important as what we teach. What I like to do is replace that word teach with lead. How we lead is as important as what we lead in those initiatives that we have. We are the air they breathe and the water that they swim in for everyone in that building. And I know, no pressure. To start the year. Great cognitive growth occurs through social interactions with principle number 3. This one really, to me, thinks about how we're creating staff meetings or interactions, professional learning opportunities that's active and interactive. We all deserve to be in our learning brain as well. Teachers need to expand and hear other perspectives. Oftentimes you get in your bubble of the people in your grade level or in your wing. How can we, when we gather together, diversify that and work with other people as well? We already looked at principle number 4 and number 5. Oh, I love this one. Absolutely. We need to know our students. I would layer it as, we as leaders need to know our staff individually, developmentally, culturally. What are their attitudes, reactions? I would even add, what are their learning styles? What are their communication preferences? It's us starting to know them, to honor them so they can feel valued and heard as well. And as always, we want to partner with families. So I know that was a lot, but I'm hoping you see that this idea of the guiding principles of responsive classroom isn't just for what we want teachers to do with children. It's for all of us in this environment of being responsive, respectful, caring, and empathetic. All right. So when we think about starting the year, we have this awesome, awesome gift of time where we can create a sense of belonging, significance, and fun. That's one of my mantras, the Tina mantra, belonging, significance, and fun. Those are basic human needs. All of us deserve belonging, significance, and fun. And what that means is you are important. You belong here. In our classrooms, that's we miss you when you're gone. Significance, what you say is important. And we need to have some fun. We want joyful interactions. Teaching is hard. Leading, even harder. I get it. So how do we create those joyful interactions? And we can lean in on those times when things get tough, because we know it does get tough. So as leaders, we're challenged with those back to school memes and themes. And I'm sure you're seeing it on social media or things like teachers are dreading, oh, the dreaded email. Oh, the beginning of school year staff meetings, the dreaded icebreakers. So now maybe you've seen some of these memes out there. I'll give you a moment to look at the screen. So are some of you feeling those vibes from staff? Maybe you're seeing some posts or some messaging about the icebreakers, the dreaded long staff meetings. You're already thinking maybe of those dominant voices out of our staff members. Know your staff, know which ones need to be heard, which ones are influencers. Handling disagreements. Maybe there's some things that you're already anticipating that you're like, yeah, this is going to be a little bit tricky for us as we start the year. So just as teachers have the feels, guess what? We also dread some of those things, right? Let's be real. We know that we try to set the stage, but we also know that there's reasons why we do those dreaded icebreakers, reasons why we have those staff meetings. And what I'm going to do in the next few slides is just to share and show ways that we can shift it. And I think one of the best things we can do is tell them why. Why are we doing these things as well? And to make it safe, because if they're dreading, the dreaded icebreakers, maybe they're not feeling safe or connected to be out there as well too. So one of my strategies I would just suggest is that one of the beginning staff meetings, I would put those words, belonging, significance, and fun, just on the board and have them do some think time as to how can they create a community where we caretake for each other and we set that stage. How are they going to instill belonging, significance, and fun? It can't all rest on our shoulders, right? So what's one thing that you can do to create that sense of community? Then let's say they jotted on Post-it notes, turn it in, you're sharing just like what Kristen did about the chat room. That's the start of hopes and dreams. And for some of you in the group that know the responsive classroom approach with creating guidelines, starting with hopes and dreams, that is a beautiful precursor to us being intentional about hopes and dreams and setting those guidelines as well. So ask them, how are they going to help each other with those basic human needs of belonging, significance, and fun? So now let's think about how we could start the school year. And you heard me mention staff meetings. Now, for some of you, you might think, yeah, some of my staff meetings maybe could be an email. We try, we know, we have the weekly memos, daily memos. There's many ways to do it. What I really tried to do is shift staff meetings to be learning. We never had enough PD time. So everything I could that was just notes, nuts and bolts, great. That went in the memo, that went on a second page of the agenda. And we really used that time as a staff meeting time to learn, to grow in our strategic plan and our professional development plan. But here's one story that I have for you that I didn't realize how important they were. So one of my staff members, and like I'd shared, I'd been at the school for 8 years as well. And just this past year, I've joined Responsive Classroom and Center for Responsive Schools full time. And I'm just so blessed by being able to work with all different schools and work with a great team. But one text I got this year and it just melted my heart. And I'm just going to share, I'm not going to show you the text or anything, but a staff member that left, let's say year 7. So she experienced a whole new school. And she said, Tina, there's a staff of 120 in my building, new building, right? And she said, and as much as I do love it there, the staff rapport was weak. She said, one thing that resonated with me over the school year is how important and valuable it was to have those staff meetings. Looking back, they were huge for us. And if it weren't for those, I wouldn't have had half the relationships I have today. Thank you for orchestrating this and seeing the importance in them, chimes and all. They used to tease me because I would have if you are familiar with Responsive Classroom, the chimes. So I would do that with the adult community. And I used to joke with them that you bet Mrs. Miller does the chimes. But what that told me was when someone goes to a new environment and they're not feeling connected, staff meetings are a great opportunity to build community, build safety and connections that resonate and build a strong fabric of we are in this together. All right. So that I loved that message and it melted my heart as well. So with our staff meetings, one suggestion so that they're not the dreaded staff meetings, if you know the morning meeting format of greeting, sharing, activity, news, and announcements, think about that in your staff meeting format. Maybe the greeting isn't that dreaded icebreaker. It's just greet someone who's wearing the same color as you. Greet someone you haven't seen yet today. Something very basic that they are having that moment to connect with someone else. Maybe the sharing is a turn and talk or a quick share about the topic that you've already told them so their brain can mentally prepare for that staff meeting topic. Maybe the topic is sharing on their themes. The activity could be that learning. And at the end of this, I'm going to share a book called Energize Your Meetings, many different protocols for ways you can get them active and interactive, which is the sign of engaged learning. And that's what we want. So the activity is actually all of that staff meeting topics in your agenda and learning. And then at the end, it can be the announcements could also be that reflection time. because we know the powerful learning happens when you can reflect on that great new learning. So the goal of staff meetings can be connection and it can be reflection as well. All right. Climbing the ladder of inference was another great term that I used with our school, and it really just resonated with staff. So if you're not familiar with climbing the ladder of inference, it's a concept introduced by an organizational psychologist, Chris Argyris. And it really thinks about how our thoughts, the information we take in, how sometimes we can grow stories in our brain. And it's actually like climbing the ladder. I see this. Oh, it must be this. Oh, this must be happening. So for example, Tina comes in late to a staff meeting. Maybe in my mind, the data is Tina's walking in late. Maybe I'm growing in my mind this whole narrative that's not true. Oh, she's late again. Oh, she must not care about this work. Oh, this. But be curious. Find out. Maybe she had to call and check in on a chronically ill loved one. Maybe she needed to deal with this. So I encourage staff to say and think in our mind, pause. I'm climbing the ladder of inference right now. And how can I go back to being curious, checking in with that person? So what I would often hear staff say would be, I'm climbing the ladder of inference right now. And it just became the safe phrase for us to say, I better check my brain and check myself. So that was just a term that really helped us. That might help you. And there's so many things, if you just type in climb the ladder, you'll see those images as well. Another tip that I would encourage is adult guideline creation. And that's my next slide, is to share with you just some protocols for that. And handling disagreements. It's great to start the year. Everything's going to be great. It's easy when it's easy. And it's hard when it's hard. How do we equip them with these tools and skills so those disagreements and issues aren't festering or coming back into my office? All right. So the first good thing that we can do is start with adult guidelines. So from hopes and dreams to adult guidelines. And just like I want in those classrooms, I want the adults to have guidelines that govern our behavior to help get to those hopes and dreams. So earlier I talked about belonging, significance, and fun, and thinking about how can they create that community. Now, maybe it's the next staff meeting or a day or two later where you're asking, what do you want to have happen this year? What's your goal? What are some hopes? What do we collectively hope happens? Now, and some of you love those Pinterest themes and all the pretty things. So you can have hopes and dreams written on things that associate with your theme and post those hopes and dreams. That link between we want to collectively achieve everyone's hopes and dreams helps guide why we need these behavioral set of expectations, same as in the classroom. So again, you're modeling with staff what you want to have happen in the classroom as well. So you generate the rules. So actually physically in a staff meeting, what I would do, they write out the hopes and dreams. I'm sharing a few of them. It's on the theme paper. And then I'd put them into groups and I'd say, all right, so if this is what we want to have accomplished, how can we be our best selves? What are some of those expectations? And typically they would center around taking care of self, taking care of others, and taking care of this place. You want to shift from the negative to the positive instead of don't do this, don't gossip, don't do this, then share what they should do. Then they can morph those into, I will take care of myself and others. I will be curious. And then condensing the list. And then you can have groups join with groups, condensing the list, eventually ending up with one set of agreed upon adult guidelines. Now, what I do with them, because you want to keep them alive. You don't just want to do it at the beginning of the year and then have it be stagnant. I put them at the top of every single staff meeting agenda. We read them, someone else reads them, and then I would say, pick one of these to be intentional about. Or maybe at the end, quick reflection, how did you do on following your guideline? That's ways that we can bring our adult community to have boundaries, have some clarity, and you lean in on those guidelines when the going gets tough. We want to go slow to go fast. So one of the other tools and strategies, handling disagreements, I'm going to get to that in just a little bit, but I'm going to go back to being seen, valued, and heard. I want staff to be able to be their true, authentic selves. So when you are seen, you're feeling valued, you're feeling heard, you're feeling recognized, but I want you as leaders to be seen. See and be seen. Be as present as possible. And we all know, absolutely, we try. There's mobile desks and trying that and trying to have meetings at different times and things. And the best thing that we can do is start off the morning is out there greeting children, being by the door, saying hello to staff, because again, you are setting that stage for the day. And we know that we can do more, right? It's hard because we're also solving problems and having to call parents and families, a lot of those things. But one of the best things we can do is greet all by using their names. It feels good for us to hear our name be said. It feels good for children. Children deserve to have their names be said in the phonetic way, in the way that they want their name said as well. So it creates this sense of belonging. You belong when I can share and say your name. Greet all. Now, the challenge with that is that if you're a noon teacher or lunch teacher and you're only there for an hour and a half, maybe they don't know who the fifth grade teacher is, or they don't know everyone. So a good strategy would be a picture board with names so that those people, and post that in a common area. It doesn't have to be out for general public to see if you don't want it to be, but maybe in your staff lounge so that they can say, I saw that person, but what's their name? Same thing, classroom teachers needing to know maybe some of the hourly staff that they don't see very often. It creates the sense of we're all here together and we're in this together, and it's important to use everyone's name. And that could be digital as well. For us as leaders, when we want people to be seen, our walkthroughs are so important as we go through, and not even just the official evaluations, but it's those walkthroughs. So one thing that another melt my heart moment from this year, as my staff from my previous elementary school was still in the building, I got a beautiful text from a teacher mid-year, and it was a picture that she sent me on the phone of a walkthrough, just little love note. I call them little love notes that she saved on her board and just said, thinking of you, thank you for this. And here's what I had said in there, and I'm not going to show you, but I just said so many great examples of excellent teaching. You read the group, give real life examples, and find ways for all to participate and go back to the heart of the lesson. And I just, just something really quick, but specific. In the next slide, I'm going to share a little bit more about our feedback needs to be genuine and specific. So I just said, what a powerful and timely lesson to give students tools and situations we know happen at school. Those sort of nuggets help staff think, wow, that was noticed. I am seen. This hard work that I planned for this lesson, that is making a difference. And what I love is just the quote at the bottom, lead from the center and not the sidelines. All right, so if we think of seen, now we want them to feel valued, right? So the value side of things is me naming and noticing and being very specific. So with our feedback as leaders, we have this awesome opportunity to be clear and precise. I used to work with someone that was awesome. That's great. That's awesome. Like a cheerleader. I love that cheerleader, but I was always like, awesome doing what? So I really tried to embody giving specific feedback. And the colleagues that I work with now, I often will say, as evidenced by, and I know that seems kind of silly or whatever, but I want to be specific and say, and here's what those exact things are that I think are awesome and going well. So consider that. And I know that's always something we're learning in our journey, is how to be specific with our knowledge or with our language and not just praising as well. Another great opportunity is to reinforce with staff that reinforcing language and envisioning language. We are a caring community. We are problem solvers. We are kind, collaborative, eager. And what that does is it really helps staff see that we can envision the best selves and our best future. And again, I want them to do that with their students. So reinforcing and envisioning language in the classroom would be, all right, mathematicians, today we get to, all right, readers, all right, writers. So what we're doing is naming that way of being as well. So let's do it with staff. Now, another thing that we can do to help people feel valued, especially when the school year wanes and we get tired and we know it's coming, is to teach mindfulness. It's not only beneficial for students, it's beneficial for all of us. And when I think about mindfulness, it's this idea of us saying it's okay to pause. It's okay. So what is mindfulness? So mindfulness is the intentional practice of focusing attention and thinking about our feelings and thoughts and emotions. It helps us with self-regulation and emotions, taking control of our thoughts and responses. Again, not only for students, but for adults. So in the Fly 5 approach, we have mindfulness principles. And what I love with the mindfulness principles is it goes beyond take a deep breath. And it's helping staff with children to articulate, here are some of the strategies that you have. And remember when I was talking about climbing the ladder, what I really think is reality check. How am I, instead of climbing the ladder, I'm doing a reality check where I can check in on my expectations versus what's really happening, and also suspending judgment. So mindfulness reminds us that we're all on a journey for reflection, and all of the responsive classroom and Fly 5 resources give us these tools to reset emotionally. So what do we have for you? We're getting close to our time. We have some mindfulness resources that Kristen will put in the chat as well. We have mini mindfulness, which you can press play for children. Staff love it with children. And it's just kind of center yourself. It's this beautiful audio voice based on those principles. And we have ones for adults. So in the chat, we will also drop one for you, Find Joy in Stillness. And for me, it was just, I would press play on my way into work. And it is just great for us to build that skill set because, again, we're all on a learning journey with mindfulness when time gets tough. So just know that on our Fly 5 platform, you can go and search, and for free, there is our mindfulness resources as well. All right. Towards, as we kind of look to the end of this webinar, I just wanted to also highlight feeling heard. So belonging, significance, and fun, seen, valued, and heard. Those are just my big pieces of this. So I want staff to feel like their voice matters. So going back to that staff meeting, what was important to me was exit tickets. That was optional. They didn't have to. I had some generic ones of just, let me know your thoughts. But sometimes I would put some specific questions, and I just did it on copy paper, snipped it, and it was just there that they could grab when they grabbed their agendas as well. Here were some of my questions that I would put out there. What are you celebrating? Because if you're in a large staff, I don't know what's all going on with everybody. What are you dreading? What would you want Tina to know? What's on your mind? One of my most favorite one was, if I had a magic wand, I would. Exactly. So we want to get their feedback and have them feel heard. So I try to incorporate ways to hear all voices, meaning that I don't want just the influencers to be the ones speaking. So I would put some strategies such as I would do with closing circle. Final go around. Everyone share one word. What are your thoughts? Right? And to find out topics ahead of time of what they're wondering about and what they're curious about. A shared leadership structure where it's two-way communication, where you have like a cadre or a representative from each area, is an important way of having people feel heard. Adult guidelines, we already went over that. Handling concerns as well. One of my best, I learned this from a previous superintendent, is that when we work with staff, we can say to them, and they come to us with a concern, do you want me to be just a listener? Do you want me to be a problem solver? Do you want me to be a thought partner? Just having that lens of those three things helps me to know, am I listening to help solve? And am I just listening? And what I lean into is, did you talk to that person? Our guidelines say we will have open and honest communication. Did you do that? And that our crucial conversations will be safe. So as we close, here's a great tool that I love. It's a book called Energize Your Meetings, 35 interactive learning structures for educators. On the screen, I just wanted to highlight some of them. They might be familiar to you. Kristen will drop this in the chat as well. So this is a resource that I would just open it up and think, okay, I'm doing this one for the staff meeting, info exchange, or circle map. And it increases our interactions, but it also creates engagement, just like what I want them to do in their classroom as well. All right. So thank you. Thank you as you start off your year for leading with kindness, clarity, and intention. If you'd love to continue this conversation, guess what? I would talk about this stuff all day long, as I'm sure you can tell. We would love to continue the conversation. There's a QR code to book a meeting with any of our colleagues here. And thank you. Thank you for starting the school year off in a great way.
Thank you, Tina. Thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciated having you here. And I don't know, I'm leaving so inspired. I hope that everyone else is as well. And we'll see you next week. We'll talk about parent outreach for busy leaders. So see you same time, same day next week. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye.